What's going on, guys? Lomax here, and welcome back to another Battleborn character guide. This one will be featuring Ghalt.
This is combat, not whatever the hell you're doing.
Ghalt, the Peacekeeper's attacker, relies on his handy-dandy shotgun and great CC to pick people off. His single target damage is amazing, and he can dual wield with his ultimate. He's a ton of fun to play as, but he is pretty one-dimensional, which we'll see as we get into his abilities. So let's do that. Ghalt's weapon is his shotgun, which deals great damage at close range, but falls off as you get farther from your target. His shotgun has 8 bullets in a clip. Ghalt's passive, Tactical Shells, gives the last 4 shots of his shotgun additional damage. So the second half of his clip will do bonus damage as, again, there are 8 bullets in a clip. I know that I tend to reload a lot, so if you fall into this habit as well, just think about the bonus damage that you can unleash. But seriously, don't reload until your clip is empty. His first skill, the hook, will allow Ghalt to fire out a hook that pulls enemies towards him. This skill is great at picking off or isolating targets from allies, and catching unsuspecting people off guard. The pullback can be stopped by terrain, so be careful where you use this from. There's nothing more frustrating than your grab being interrupted by the end of a wall. Scrap Trap, his second skill, will allow Ghalt to deploy a trap that will stun enemies who enter it for 2 seconds, after which it explodes and deals damage. Ideally, you want to use this in conjunction with the hook, hooking and then pulling your enemies into your trap, and then hammering away at their health. And you can only have 2 scrap traps on the field at one time. Dual Wield, his ultimate, is an amazing power spike at level 5. After a brief moment, Ghalt spawns a second shotgun that lasts for 10 seconds and can fire for the entire duration without having to reload. It's not super flashy, but the amount of damage you can pump out for these 10 seconds is crazy, and it's certainly a game changer. So let's get into Ghalt's Helix tree. At level 1, we'll get a choice between the Big Draw, which buffs the hook, and Stealth Scrap, which buffs Scrap Trap. The Big Draw will increase the area of effect of the hook, making it easier to land on enemies. Now, I can't say how much it increases it by, but I would guess that it doubles the area of effect. This would be a very nice skill to have if you are facing enemies with smaller hitboxes, as enemies with larger hitboxes will still be easy to hit even without buffing this skill. Stealth Scrap will cause Ghalt's scrap traps to become nearly invisible. This skill is nice too, as enemies will no longer be able to see your traps from a distance. With proper placement of traps, you'll be able to get off more stuns and destroy your enemies. Enemy AI can also normally destroy your traps by shooting at them, but with this skill they will not be able to. I would recommend this skill in PvE, and the other one in PvP, where landing a hook has a much bigger impact. At level 2, we're going to get 2 buffs to Scrap Trap, Shock Trap, and the Scrappening. Shock Trap is going to cause deployed scrap traps to deal additional damage over time. So if an enemy gets stunned, it deals a little bit of guaranteed bonus damage, which is nice. The Scrappening is going to cause 3 small bombs to launch from your scrap trap after it is triggered and explodes. This skill doesn't feel as good to me as Shock Trap, as the bombs are dispersed randomly and aren't guaranteed to hit your target, although the damage potential is higher than Shock Trap if all 3 bombs hit your target, but this is unlikely. Plus, your target has a moment to escape once the stun wears off. If the bombs exploded as soon as the trap was triggered, then this would probably be the better choice here. At level 3, we'll have a choice between 2 skills buffing Ghalt's shotgun, Slug Rounds and Pellet Party. Slug Rounds will cause Ghalt's shotgun to fire single projectile slug rounds, which will increase its range. This is a pretty nice power spike for Ghalt, as prior to this, he's really bad at long range. Taking this skill in PvP will make him that much more of a threat, as now he can snipe enemies from across the map. Pellet Party is going to increase the pellet count of Ghalt's shotgun by 30%. This skill is the opposite of Slug Rounds in that it will make Ghalt more deadly at short range. If you can get close to your enemies, you will hurt them. I have to say overall that I prefer the range over the pellet spread. Having the extra range is nice across all types of play, and with Ghalt being a slower character, you don't need to worry as much about getting close to your enemies to hit them. At level 4, we're going to get 2 buffs to the hook to choose from: Hookshot and Efficient Extraction. Hookshot is going to add some damage to the hook, which is nice because it doesn't deal any damage. It's good to start a fight with a small burst of damage, but it won't have a huge impact on the enemy's health, maybe breaking through half of their shield or doing a little bit of health damage. The skill has good synergy with another skill that we'll see later on. Efficient Extraction is going to increase the speed and range of the hook. This will certainly make it easier to hook people, and now you can do so from a farther distance, making you even more dangerous from range. I like this skill a lot, as having that extra speed is going to make it harder for your enemies to dodge your hook. I'd say this skill is better in PvP, while the other one would be better in PvE. At level 5, we're going to get 2 buffs to Tactical Shells: Hobbling Shot and Boom Sticker. Hobbling Shot is going to add a slowing effect to Tactical Shells. Having a slow is never a bad thing, and it will make it easier to hit quicker, smaller targets. Definitely something to consider in PvP, but not so much in PvE, where slows don't make as much of an impact. And we also have Boom Sticker, which is going to add bonus damage to Tactical Shells. This is definitely my preferred option in PvE because more damage. It's also going to make it easier to kill people in PvP because, again, more damage. So definitely not a bad option there. I'm split between the two skills here for PvP because you certainly can make a case for both. So I'll leave it up to you guys to try them both out and see what you like. At level 6, we're going to get a choice between Drain Chain, which will buff the hook, and Duct Tape and Baling Wire, which will buff Scrap Trap. Drain Chain is going to add a damage over time effect to the hook. Whenever an enemy is hit with your hook, their health and shields will be drained. I said at level 4 that the Hookshot has good synergy with a skill we'll see later. Well, this is that skill. Hookshot's impact damage plus Drain Chain's damage is going to only make it easier to kill an enemy that you can land a hook on. Duct Tape and Baling Wire is going to double Scrap Trap's health. If you're going for a trap focus build, then this might not be too bad, but ultimately I don't think it's necessary. If you're placing your traps correctly, they shouldn't be seen nor need the extra health. At level 7, we'll get 2 buffs to Ghalt's Shotgun: Speed Loader and Both Barrels Blazing. Speed Loader is going to increase the reload speed of Ghalt's Shotgun. Reload speed is never a bad thing, especially with an 8-round clip. This skill is however going to be useless when you are in dual wield, because you don't have to reload while ulting. Both Barrels Blazing is going to cause both barrels of Ghalt's Shotgun to fire at the same time. Basically, you're going to expend 2 shots for the price of 1. This means you will be reloading a hell of a lot. Now, I don't believe this skill will apply to your ultimate, but it's still a great skill, and is definitely my preferred option here, PvP or PvE. At level 8, we're going to get 2 buffs to Scrap Trap: Short Fuse and Big Trap. Short Fuse is going to reduce the trigger delay on Scrap Trap, meaning it will take a second less for the trap to detonate. Not necessarily a good or bad skill here, it just means the damage is applied sooner. This should impact Shock Trap's damage, however, taking away a second of its damage. Big Trap is going to increase the radius of Scrap Trap's stun and blast radius by almost half. This will make it easier to stun enemies and potentially allow you to stun a larger number of enemies with the enlarged AoE. I have to recommend this skill over Short Fuse because of the larger AoE stun, and the fact that Short Fuse isn't super impressive. At level 9, we're going to get 2 buffs to the hook: Here Comes the Hook and Easy Target. Here Comes the Hook is going to reduce the cooldown of the hook, allowing for more frequent uses of it. Definitely not a bad skill to have, as being able to use your hook more is going to give you a higher chance of landing one and then finishing off your enemy. Easy Target, on the other hand, is going to make any target hit by a hook take amplified damage, which is great. Combine this with all of the skills that give the hook damage, and you'll have no trouble killing enemies so long as you can hit them. I think the damage amplification outshines the cooldown reduction for sure, both in PvE and PvP. At level 10, we'll get 2 buffs to our ultimate dual wield. They are Gun and Run and Incendiary Shells. Gun and Run will give Ghalt a stack of movement speed, up to 5 stacks, whenever he hits a major enemy with dual wield. This skill will make it easier to stick with your targets as they try to run away from you, as a 25% movement speed increase is pretty fast. I would recommend this for PvP, but you won't need this for PvE, as there's no real urgency to keep up with the AI. Incendiary Shells is going to add a damage over time effect to dual-wield shotgun shells. It will add a small damage bonus to every shot fired at an enemy. I would recommend using the skill in PvE, but it could work in PvP as well to give you a bit of extra damage. That's going to do it for Ghalt, guys. As I said earlier, he's pretty one-dimensional. Your goal is to use your skills to isolate people and then finish them off with your shotgun. Despite being limited in his playstyle, he's still super fun to play, and I hope you guys enjoy using him. As always, feel free to rate and or comment down below if you have anything you wish to add. Also, please consider subscribing if you would like to see more videos, and I'll catch you all in the next one.